All right, today we're going to continue working on compare and contrast. So I'm going to present you with a little bit of a challenge to start here. Suppose an author wanted to explain how these two birds are similar and different. So someone asked you, if you looked at these two birds, what's the same? Well, or if you wanted to compare them, well, they're both birds. They both look fairly small. They both fly. They both have beaks. They both can perch with their little feet. You could go on and on and on about why they're similar. And then if you were to say why they're different, hopefully you could come up with a few reasons like, well, one is red, one is kind of yellow and brown, one has little feathers on the back of its head, the other one doesn't, so on and so forth. So we were working on chronological order, putting things in order or sequencing. But really with this, there's no order of events. There's no one bird came first. There's no telling how a bird flies or how a bird lays eggs. We're just talking about how they're similar or different. So in this case, we're going to use compare and contrast. So here's a little practice paragraph for you. It has some of the same ideas that I just told you, but I want you to listen and see if you can hear some key words here. The cardinal and the goldfinch are two common birds. Both are brightly colored. Both are common at bird feeders. But the birds have some differences. The male cardinal is a bright red, while the male goldfinch is yellow. Cardinals like shrubs and trees, while goldfinches prefer open meadows. So I'm going to give you a quick second. See what you can figure out here that is the same, and then see what you can figure out is different about these two birds. So I'm hoping you guys were able to come up with some. We're going to come right back to it. When they use this text structure, they often use special clue words. So I actually just skipped ahead in that last slide. So we're going to do the clue words in the same paragraph. So hopefully there are some words you notice here that are saying how they're the same and some words you notice saying how they are different. All right, I gave you a few seconds. Hopefully you have a few examples. Here they are. Both and both means they're the same. You'll see the word both a lot in compare and contrast. You might see the word similar or the word same. And then often the word, when we're contrasting but or while, those are often common ones as well. So one is red, but the other is yellow. And that's kind of that conjunction word right there that is saying like it's linking the two ideas, but they are different. While is another one you're going to see a lot of. One is this way while the other is this way. So it means they're both coexisting at the same time, but one is one way while the other is the other. Often we will be using our Venn diagram like we did yesterday. And remember, the similarities go in the middle and then the differences go on each side. So in this case, you might have one is red, one is yellow on each side, and then in the middle you'd have something like they're both birds. And there's a good example for you, the cardinal with their goldfinch. Today we're going to be doing soccer and football. So anything that they do not share a common trait goes on its own side. But then obviously the common traits that they share goes in this little middle part of the circles. You might also see a chart. These are a really good way to organize, especially if you're taking your own notes. In this case, they have each bird, and then I would draw a little line maybe to kind of separate things, but their colors and their habitat, and you'd see the goldfinch right in here would tell you exactly what the goldfinch, its colors are, while the cardinal's colors are different, habitat, etc. So you could also use a chart here and fill in the details on each one. And it's a really good way to keep yourself organized as well. And you almost could take your chart and put it into a Venn diagram if you wanted. So I want you to think about it. We've been working on chronological order or sequencing for quite a while. I'm going to give you just a quick second. Can you explain the difference between chronological order and compare and contrast. And I'll also come up with an answer and see if your answer is somewhat like mine. So I'll give you a few minutes to think. I might even use some compare and contrast words to explain the difference because that's exactly what we're doing here. I could say something like chronological order is putting important events in order as they happened, while compare and contrast is saying how two things are similar and different. And then I want you to think for a minute, how can these clue words help you as a reader? I think the clue words help you as a reader to, first of all, figure out which text structure you're working with. That's important. And once you understand the text structure, you can understand the text better. So if you know you're working on chronological order, you know you're working with important events in time or steps that you need to follow, and you know it's really important things go in order. If you're working on compare and contrast, you know that two things are going to be compared that are similar and different, and it'll help you better understand what's the same and what's different. So these text structures really help you better understand the text, and it better understands the author's purpose. Why did they write this? Did they write this to tell you how to make something in order? Did they write this to tell you what happened over time? Or did they write this to tell you how two things are similar and different? So it's really important you keep this in mind as you go through this today is what clue words am I seeing and why might the author have organized it that way? So today we're going to go over the differences between soccer and football. And I'm going to actually read it to you now, so that way when you go back to do the activity, you've had it read to you if you need it read to you. But I want you to think as I'm going through this, if you hear any clue words for compare and contrast, and I want you to kind of start to generate yourself, how are they the same and how are they different? Soccer and football are alike in a few ways, but have many differences. One similarity is that there are 11 players on the field at one time in both soccer and football. They are both popular sports in the United States, and they both require the use of a ball on a field. The differences between soccer and football are numerous. Soccer players use balls shaped like a sphere, whereas football players use a ball that has two ends. In soccer, players are trying to send the ball in the goal. However, in football, players are trying to get the ball in the end zone or through the goalpost. The rules are also very different. In soccer, players are rarely allowed to touch the ball with their hands, while football players frequently touch the ball. Football players are allowed to tackle, but this is forbidden in soccer. These are just a few ways that soccer and football, let me scroll down the tiniest little bit, are different. Nonetheless, most people agree that both soccer and football are fun sports. So today your job is going to be able to go through this paragraph. You're going to have to complete the Venn diagram, tell me what's the same and what's different. And then you're going to write your own really quick compare and contrast paragraph. Again, it doesn't have to be all these reasons, just pick out a couple. And I really want you guys to focus on this topic, sentence, and conclusion today. Something similar to they are alike, but they are different, and making sure you mention that in the beginning and the end. So keep your eye out for the clue words today and think about how these things are the same and how they're different.